The auditorium buzzed with laughter and camera flashes. My classmates posed for photos, families clapping, names echoing across the stage with pride and celebration. When mine was called, I stood, smoothed my gown, and searched the crowd for my family. 3 empty seats stared back at me, the ones with my last name taped neatly to the backs, reserved but unoccupied. Then I saw them, my siblings, standing near the exit, phones out, laughing at me. That was the moment I realized the truth. They didn't forget my graduation. They came just to make sure I remembered my place. My name is Sage, and for 22 years I lived as the invisible middle child, the helper, the background character in someone else's highlight reel. I thought graduation would be different. I thought finally one day would belong to me. I was wrong. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. I want to know your opinion, because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. Growing up, I was the in-between child, too quiet to be noticed, too steady to be praised. My brother Ryan was the family favorite, captain of the soccer team, debate champion, loud, charming, always performing for an audience that never tired of watching. My sister Chloe was the golden one. Art awards lined her bedroom walls. Mom called her my creative soul. Dad bragged about her gallery showings to anyone who would listen. I was the helper. The one who stayed home while they went to Ryan's tournaments. The one who remembered birthdays when everyone else forgot. The one who cleaned up the kitchen after they finished celebrating themselves. When I got accepted into my dream university with a full academic scholarship, no one said congratulations. Mom just said, "That's nice, sweetheart. You'll be closer to Chloe's apartment then." That was it. 4 years of perfect grades reduced to geographic convenience. During college, I stopped trying. I stopped sharing my grades, my projects, my small victories. Every phone call home turned into updates about someone else. Ryan got promoted again. Chloe's art show sold out. Your father and I are so proud. Proud of them, never of me. I learned to keep my accomplishments private. Dean's list every semester. Research published in an undergraduate journal. A job offer before graduation. None of it mattered at home, so I stopped mentioning it. I built a life in the margins, quiet and mine. My friends celebrated with me. My professors wrote recommendation letters. My roommate threw me a surprise party when I got accepted to grad school. But my family, they were busy, always busy, until graduation day. The one day I asked them to show up. I sent the invitation 3 months early. I called to confirm. I texted reminders. They all said yes. They all promised. They arrived halfway through the ceremony. I was sitting with my class, alphabetically arranged, waiting for my name. The auditorium doors opened with a loud creak. Ryan wore sunglasses inside like he was too cool for the formality. Chloe filmed herself walking in, phone held high, mouthing something to the camera. Later I'd see the caption, "My little sister's big day," but she never tagged me. Mom and Dad followed, looking annoyed, like they'd been inconvenienced. They took their seats, the ones I'd reserved in the 3rd row center aisle, perfect view. But they didn't look at the stage. They looked at their phones. When my name was called, I stood, my heart pounded. I walked carefully, diploma in sight, then I tripped just slightly. A small stumble as I stepped off the stage. I recovered immediately, but I heard it, laughter, from the 3rd row. Ryan whispered something to Chloe. She smirked. My chest tightened, but I kept walking. I held my diploma. I smiled for the photographer, and I sat back down, numb. After the ceremony, families gathered outside for photos. My friends found me first, hugging me, congratulating me, posing with me in our caps and gowns. My family stood off to the side, waiting. When I walked over, Mom said, "We need to leave soon, traffic's going to be terrible." No hug, no congratulations, just logistics. Ryan was on his phone. Chloe was scrolling. "Can we take one family photo?" I asked. Mom sighed. "Fine, quickly." We stood together. I smiled. The camera clicked once, then they left. That night, alone in my dorm, I checked social media. Chloe had posted a video of me tripping on stage, zoomed in, slowed down, captioned with 3 laughing crying emojis. Graduation bloopers. It had 200 likes already. Comments poured in. "OMG, who is this? Epic fail. She okay?" My hands shook, not from embarrassment, from clarity. They didn't come to support me, they came to mock me, and they wanted proof. That night I sat surrounded by balloons from friends, not family. Congratulations banners taped to my walls by my roommate. A cake from my study group. People who cared. People who saw me. I played Chloe's video again, not to hurt myself, but to remember the feeling. The exact second I decided I was done, I didn't cry, I didn't call them, I didn't send an angry text. I just opened my laptop and created a folder titled Reset. Inside it, I began building a new version of me. Not out of revenge, out of necessity. Because the person they humiliated at graduation was too small, too quiet, too easy to ignore, and I was tired of being easy to ignore. I started making lists. Things to change, things to build, things to leave behind. At the top of the first list I wrote leave, and I meant it. It started simple. I cut my hair. Shoulder-length waves that Mom always said suited me became a sharp chin-length bob. I donated every piece of clothing they'd ever commented on. That's not your color. You should dress more like Chloe. Gone. I updated my email address. No more Sage Miller. Now Ivy Ross contact. I changed my phone number. New provider, new area code, new start. I deleted every photo that tied me to the person they mocked. Group shots where I stood in the back. Holiday dinners where I smiled too hard trying to belong. Childhood pictures where I was already learning to shrink. All of it. Gone. Then I applied for a research assistant position at an environmental non-profit in another city, somewhere they'd never think to look. When I got the offer 3 days later, I accepted immediately. I gave my landlord notice. I packed my life into 6 boxes, and 1 week later I left. My new apartment was small but mine. 1 bedroom, large windows, hardwood floors that creaked when I walked barefoot in the morning. I bought nothing decorative at first, just light, just space, just quiet. Quiet mornings with strong coffee and a desk facing a window overlooking the street. No photos on the walls, no reminders of who I used to be. Just potential. The non-profit welcomed me warmly. My supervisor, a woman named Lorraine, shook my hand firmly on my first day. "We're lucky to have you, Sage." I hesitated. "Actually," I said, "I'm going by Ivy now." She didn't ask why, she just smiled. "Welcome, Ivy." Hearing my new name in a professional space felt like oxygen, like I could finally breathe. That evening I filed the paperwork for a legal name change, not because I wanted to hide, but because I wanted to define. To choose, to own. The name Ivy Ross settled into place like it had been waiting for me all along. For months I built a life they'd never recognize. I read more. Fiction, poetry, environmental policy papers. Things I'd always wanted to explore but never had time for because I was too busy helping everyone else. I traveled alone. Weekend trips to nearby cities. Solo hikes in state parks. Museums where I walked slowly, absorbing art without someone rushing me. I learned how to take photos instead of waiting to be in someone else's. I bought a camera. I practiced composition, lighting, perspective. My Instagram became a gallery of places, not people. At work my name appeared on reports, on badges, on emails. Ivy Ross. Policy recommendations I drafted were cited in meetings. My research contributed to a grant proposal that got funded. Lorraine praised my work in front of the team. Ivy's analysis made this possible. I wasn't invisible anymore, I was essential, and the difference was staggering. Then one day I received an email from my old university. They were featuring alumni in a local newspaper, graduates who inspire. They asked if I'd share my story. I hesitated. Exposure felt risky, but hiding felt worse. I said yes. The interview was conducted over Zoom. The reporter asked about my work, my passions, my journey after graduation. I spoke carefully, honestly, but I didn't mention my family. I didn't mention the video. I just talked about transformation. About finding your voice. About building a life that reflects who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. The article published 2 weeks later. A former student who redefined herself after graduation. No drama, no details, just my name, Ivy Ross, my new city, my work in environmental policy, and a photo of me smiling confidently. Within hours it was shared across social media. Alumni groups, career counseling pages, mental health advocates. The comments were overwhelming. "This is so inspiring. I needed to read this today. Thank you for sharing your story." 3 days later a message arrived in my work inbox. From Chloe. My stomach dropped when I saw the name. I stared at the preview. "Ivy, is this you?" I didn't open it immediately. I let it sit. 2 hours later another message. "We didn't mean to hurt you, we were just joking." The next day another. "Mom keeps asking about you, can we talk?" I read them all. Felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, just distance. The messages stayed unread. I didn't block her. I just didn't respond. Silence was no longer punishment, it was peace. Ryan tried next, a text to my old number that somehow got forwarded. "Hey, saw the article, proud of you." Proud, the word felt hollow, empty, years too late. I deleted it. Then Mom called my work number. I don't know how she got it. My assistant took a message. "Your mother called, she says it's important." I thanked her and filed the message away. I didn't return the call. I spoke with Lorraine about the situation, not in detail, just enough. "My family's trying to contact me," I said. "I'm not ready." She nodded without judgment. We can screen calls if you need, you're under no obligation to engage with anyone who disrupts your peace. That conversation solidified something. I wasn't running, I was choosing my environment, my energy, my narrative. I drafted an email, short, clear, sent to all of them. I've started a new chapter of my life. I need space to continue growing. Please respect that. I'm not angry, I'm just moving forward, alone. I didn't wait for replies, I didn't explain further, I just sent it and closed my laptop. The relief was immediate, not because I hurt them, but because I finally protected myself. Boundaries, I learned, weren't walls, they were doors, and I controlled who walked through. For the first time in my life, I controlled access to me. A month later, I was invited back to the university for a panel discussion. Life after graduation, navigating change and uncertainty. I almost declined. The thought of returning to that campus, that auditorium, made my chest tight. But then I thought about the students who might need to hear what I had to say. The ones sitting in the back row. The ones waiting to be seen. So I accepted. The day of the event, I wore a navy blazer and spoke with confidence I'd spent months building. When I stepped on stage, the lights felt softer this time. I looked out at the audience, students, mentors, professors, strangers, all listening, no laughter, no smirks, just attention. I spoke about transformation, about the courage it takes to start over, about giving yourself permission to become someone new. You don't have to carry the version of yourself that others created, I said. You're allowed to rebuild, you're allowed to redefine, you're allowed to be seen. When the panel ended, students lined up to ask questions. One young woman approached me, hands shaking slightly. I just want to say thank you, she said. I've been struggling with my family not understanding me. Your story made me believe I can start over too. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. You can, I said. You don't have to be who they said you were, you get to decide. She hugged me tight, grateful, and in that moment I realized something. My pain had purpose. My story mattered, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real, because someone else needed to hear that survival was possible, that thriving was possible, that you could walk away from people who diminished you and still build something beautiful. I stayed after the event, talking with students, exchanging contact information, offering encouragement. For the first time I felt like I belonged, not because of my last name, but because of my presence. That night I walked through the quiet streets of my new city, the lights glowing warm around me. I passed a shop window and caught my reflection. Hair shorter, eyes calmer, posture straighter. The person they humiliated at graduation didn't exist anymore. The person looking back had rebuilt everything they tried to break. I thought about Ryan's sunglasses, Chloe's video, Mom's indifference, Dad's silence, and I felt nothing, not anger, not sadness, just distance. They were characters in a story I'd finished reading. I didn't need to reread the chapters. I didn't need closure from them. I'd given it to myself. I stopped at a cafe, ordered tea, and sat by the window. A couple walked by laughing. A dog barked playfully. Life moved around me, indifferent to my past, and I was grateful to be unknown here, grateful to be Ivy, grateful to be free. At work I continued to excel. Lorraine promoted me to lead researcher after 6 months. You've earned this, she said. Your work speaks for itself. I led a team of 3. We worked on policy proposals addressing climate equity. Our research was cited by state legislators. Our recommendations influenced funding allocations. I was no longer helping from the shadows. I was leading from the front. My colleagues respected me, invited me to lunches, asked for my opinions, celebrated my ideas. It was everything my family never gave me, and I didn't take it for granted. I thanked people, I showed up fully, I contributed without fear of being dismissed, because in this space my voice mattered. One afternoon, a colleague named Marcus asked if I wanted to grab coffee. Not for work, just to talk. I hesitated. Friendships felt vulnerable, but I said yes. We talked for 2 hours about books, travel, childhood dreams. He didn't ask about my family. He just asked about me, and I answered honestly, openly, without fear. Marcus became a close friend. Then Lorraine introduced me to her book club, 6 people who met monthly to discuss everything from classics to contemporary fiction. They welcomed me warmly, no questions about my past, just interest in my thoughts. I started hosting dinners, small gatherings, homemade pasta, wine, conversation that lasted until midnight. These people didn't know Sage, they only knew Ivy, and Ivy was someone who laughed more, who spoke up, who didn't apologize for existing, someone who took up space without guilt. For the first time I understood what it felt like to be chosen, not out of obligation, but because people genuinely wanted me there. One evening after everyone left, I cleaned up the kitchen slowly. The apartment smelled like garlic and rosemary. Laughter still echoed faintly in my memory. and I realized I'd built it, the life I wanted, the life I deserved, without them, without their approval. Without their presence, I'd built it alone, and it was enough. A year after the article, another email arrived, this time from Ryan. Subject line, "I'm sorry, I almost deleted it, but curiosity won." "Ivy," it began, "I saw your article. I've been thinking a lot about graduation, about how we treated you. I was cruel. Chloe and I both were. We didn't take you seriously. We thought you'd always just be there in the background, but you're not anymore, and I'm realizing now what we lost. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what we did, and I'm sorry." I read it twice, then I closed it. I didn't respond, not because I wanted to hurt him, but because his apology didn't change anything. It didn't undo the video, it didn't erase the laughter, it didn't give me back the years I spent invisible. His guilt was his to carry, not mine. I didn't owe him absolution, I'd already moved on. But something about his email lingered, not anger, just awareness. He'd grown, maybe not enough, but he'd acknowledged the harm, and that mattered, not for reconciliation but for my own peace. I spoke with my therapist, Dr. Nia Patel, about it. "Do you feel like you need to respond?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I feel like I should acknowledge that he tried." She nodded. "Acknowledgement doesn't mean reconnection. You can honor his growth without giving him access." That felt right. So I sent one line. "Thank you for saying that. I hope you continue to grow. Take care." Short, final, kind, he replied immediately. "That's more than I deserved, thank you." And that was it. No further conversation, no rekindling, just closure on my terms, and it felt powerful, because forgiveness, I learned, isn't for them, it's for you, and I forgave them, not by letting them back in, but by letting the anger go. 2 years after graduation, I received another email, this time from the university president. They were hosting an alumni awards ceremony. They wanted to honor me. Outstanding Young Alumni Award for Professional Achievement and Community Impact. I stared at the screen, stunned. Me, the girl who tripped on stage, the girl whose family laughed, the girl who disappeared. They wanted to honor me. I accepted. The ceremony was elegant, a ballroom filled with alumni, faculty, donors. When my name was called, I stood. I walked to the stage, confident, steady, no stumble this time. I accepted the award. I gave a short speech. 2 years ago, I walked across a stage and felt invisible. Today I stand here because I chose to rebuild, to redefine, to refuse to be small. Thank you for seeing me. The applause was thunderous, genuine. After the ceremony, alumni approached me, shared their own stories, thanked me for speaking truth, and I realized I'd done it. I'd become someone they could no longer ignore. I visited my hometown once, not for them. For me, I wanted to see if it still held power, if the streets still felt suffocating. I drove past my childhood home. The lawn was overgrown, the paint peeling. It looked smaller than I remembered. I drove past the high school, the park, the coffee shop where I used to study. Everything looked the same, but I felt different, stronger, freer, untouchable. I stopped at Nana Rose's grave. She'd passed 6 months earlier. I hadn't gone to the funeral, but I went now. I placed flowers on the headstone. "Thank you for always believing in me," I whispered. "I made it," I cried, not sad tears, relieved ones. Then I drove back to my city, my home, my life, and I didn't look back, because there was nothing left there for me. Everything I needed I'd built with my own hands. I'm 30 now, 8 years since graduation. I live in a house with a garden. Tomatoes, herbs, flowers that bloom in the spring. I have a cat named Wren, a career I'm proud of, friends who show up, a life I chose. Every morning I make coffee and sit on my porch. The air is cool, the neighborhood quiet, and I feel it, peace, real peace. The kind that doesn't come from perfection but from presence, from knowing who you are, from refusing to be anyone else. I don't think about my family often. When I do, it's without bitterness. They're just people I used to know, people who couldn't see me, but that was never my fault, and it's no longer my problem. I didn't change to hurt them. I changed because their version of me was too small to live in anymore, and I'm grateful for the humiliation, because it forced me to leave, to rebuild, to become Ivy. I started a podcast, Redefining You. I interview people who have rebuilt their lives after trauma, rejection, or loss. It's grown steadily. Thousands of listeners, messages from people who say my story helped them leave toxic situations, helped them change their names, helped them believe they deserved better. One listener wrote, "I graduated last year. My family didn't come. I thought I was alone. Then I found your podcast. Thank you for showing me I'm not." I read that message 3 times and I cried because my pain had become someone else's permission. My story had become someone else's courage, and that felt like purpose. Like everything I went through mattered. Not because it was fair, but because it was fuel. Fuel for something bigger than my hurt, fuel for collective healing, and I'd keep sharing, keep speaking, Keep showing people that you can rebuild, that you can redefine, that you can rise. People ask me sometimes if I regret cutting them off. If I ever wonder what could have been, the answer is always no, because I know what would have been: more invisibility, more mockery, more shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant for me. I don't miss them, I miss the idea of them. The family I wish I'd had, but I've built something better. A chosen family, people who see me, who celebrate me, who show up, and that's enough, more than enough. I look at photos from the awards ceremony, from the podcast launch, from dinners with friends, and I see someone I'm proud of, someone who fought for herself, someone who refused to stay small. That person is me, Ivy Ross, and I love her, fiercely, protectively, completely, because she earned it. She earned every ounce of peace she has, and no one can take that away. If you've ever been humiliated by the people who were supposed to protect you, I want you to know something. You're not stuck, you're not defined by their cruelty. You can leave, you can rebuild, you can become someone entirely new. Tell me where you're listening from. Share your thoughts and subscribe for more stories like this. God bless you, and may courage guide your hands. Meanwhile, on the final screen, I am leaving you with one of the channel's most beloved stories. I am sure it will surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until this moment. They laughed at me once, posted it online, made sure I knew my place. But now they'll never even recognize the sound of my name, because the person they humiliated at graduation doesn't exist anymore. I didn't change to hurt them. I changed because their version of me was too small to live in. And I'm done living small. I'm Ivy Ross, and I'm finally completely free.